So what were you doing 25 years ago this week? I know it's kind of an odd question, but I know what I was doing. I was right here helping with our coverage of the new Carissa. It was a big freighter that ran ashore along the Oregon coast near Coos Bay during the night of February 3rd, 1999. We're going to take a few moments to explore the vault and go back in time for what became one of Oregon's biggest modern environmental disasters when it comes to shipping. Our environmental reporter at the time, Gary Chittum, fielded some of our first reports.
It's already rough enough in the shallow waters off Coos Bay. At low tide, you can see the 600-foot bulk carrier is firmly grounded, and it's in trouble. Watch how this powerful wave batters the deck and the crew of the ship.
It's rocking out there. This morning they had 20 to 25 knot winds and easily 20-foot seas.
The fear is the steady pounding of the waves could rupture the fuel tanks of the ship, or worse.
As the hours went on, we could see that it was definitely stuck. It got there because they arrived in a storm the night of the 3rd and then tried to anchor about 1.5 miles offshore to ride out the storm. But the anchor line was too short and the wind and the current pushed the ship toward the beach. At first, at least for me, it didn't seem like it was all that dangerous environmentally because the ship was empty. It was going to pick up a load of stuff. Then we learned it carried 359,000 gallons of heavy bunker fuel oil and another 37,000 gallons of diesel fuel. And that made it very dangerous for the environment. 4 days after it beached on the shore, 2 of the 5 tanks started leaking oil. Here's our reporter at the time, Tina Kim.
Black veins of bunker fuel run along this Coos Bay beach. The oily mess spans about 3 or 4 miles north from its source, the new Carissa. For 4 days, waves and wind have whipped and punched the 600-foot-long, 38,000-ton cargo ship. On the 5th day of being stuck, it looks like she finally gave in. Notice the corner of the screen in this video from a Coast Guard photographer. Shiny black pools and rivulets now lie beside the ship.
What were you doing to contain it? Absolutely nothing. There's nothing that can be done out there.
Bill Milwee is a spokesperson for the ship's owner. Green Atlas Shipping is based in Panama. He says nothing can clean up the oil while it floats in the water. Crews wait until the residue hits shore. 50 to 60 people now screen through the sands of Horsefall Beach. Milwee estimates less than 1,000 of the carrier's 400,000 gallons of oil has leaked.
Oh, you're picking up with shovels, with rakes, with solvent materials, and it's nasty, dirty, hard work.
Now, I have to say, I loved Bill Milwee as a spokesperson. He was always colorful and had great things to say. But the oil leak would get much worse, eventually killing more than 3,000 seabirds. As concern grew about more oil spilling, the unified command that was running the emergency response, well, they decided it was just too dangerous to try transferring the fuel off the boat onto another boat. And so the best thing they decided to do, they said burn it. As a storm approached, they gave it a try. I covered it from our helicopter Sky 8. Watch this. You'll see 2 small flashes. There were explosions, but, you know, not a lot happened there. And so the very next day, February 11th, 1999, the Navy pitched in with a whole bunch of explosives, 600 gallons of napalm, 397 pounds of plastic explosives. Again, the idea was to burn up all the oil that was sloshing around in the ship and keep it from going onto the beach. Here's how that went.
The new Carissa sits on the sand, consuming itself and its fuel burning from within. Tonight we learned the ship is severely cracked, split with a huge fissure running vertically from the waterline and on the other side. Navy bosun mate Bill Lee placed explosives on the ship and saw the gap up close.
It's as wide as a person. It's probably from the keel halfway up the side of the ship.
Here's a look from Sky 8. That line down low on the left is not in the water. It is the ruptured steel. You're looking into the burning hull. Salvage expert Bill Milwee says the ship could break up.
And he was right. The ship burned all night and into the next day. And look at the middle there where that light section is. That's where the crack is, and that's where it's all coming apart. And then we went back to look at it again using our FLIR camera at night. We saw that, in fact, it had broken in 2. The next morning revealed the problem had not gone away, although the experts later estimated about 255,000 gallons of the oil had indeed burned up. But the new Carissa was not finished with Oregon. Half of it was eventually pulled off the coast, but then a tow line broke in a storm. And by March 3rd, it had floated all the way back to the beach, this time at Waldport. Eventually, it was towed 280 miles out to sea and then sunk by a Navy destroyer and a submarine. It took 9 more years, but eventually the rest was cut up and removed from the shoreline at Coos Bay.